Hello and welcome to my channel. On this very summery warm day we're going to play with some warm tones by Essence. I'm doing a full face of this drugstore brand. Everything by Essence is very cheap, but the question of today is it also very good? So I have some items from the summer collection from 2020. And then some other random things that I picked up over the last couple of years. And let's dive into it. I'm going to start with my eyes, and for eyes I have the Spice It Up palette. This was the summer release from 2020. And this is still my favorite Essence palette because I like it when I'm in the mood for those summery shades like I am today. So I'm first going to prime my eyes using the Essence Eye Primer. This is the I Love Color Intensifying eyeshadow base. I like this eyeshadow base because it leaves your eyelids a little bit tacky but not too much. So eyeshadows still blend perfectly, but they are a little bit more intensified. So I really want to make it very warm today, and I'm really drawn to this orange shade over here in combination with the red tone over there. But I am going to build it up slowly, so I'm first going into this yellow shade over here. And I'm taking that above my crease and in my crease. This is a nice mustardy orange. And this palette, I like the color story more than I like the actual formula of the eyeshadows. It's okay, it's just not extremely pigmented. So now I'm going into the orange I showed earlier, and I'm going to deepen up this shade. So a lot of this eyeshadow dusts away. But I guess it does work a little bit better with the Essence eyeshadow base, which makes sense, of course. So now we have this nice fiery orange base. And now I'm going into the dark red. This shade over here. Still using the same angled blending brush. I'm dragging the shades out a little bit because, well, I don't know why, I just like that look. I'm also taking a smaller pencil brush and I'm going into the same shade and I'm going to put that underneath the lower lash line, connecting it to the upper lash line red. And I'm going to blend that out using the orange. Ooh, this is actually looking nice and fiery. Now it's time to add some shimmer, and I'm taking this small smudger brush and I'm first going into this shade over here, and then I'm going into the lighter orange one. And then maybe also this yellow one over here. So I'm putting the darkest shimmer in the outer corner of my eye. These shimmers are nice, but they're not really special. I'm going into the more orangey shimmer now. I mean, for a cheap drugstore brand, it's definitely not bad. It's just difficult to get a really intense look with them. Finally, I'm taking the yellow and I'm putting that in the inner corner. And that's it. That looks pretty good, I think. It takes a little bit of time to build it up, but I must say this primer, eyeshadow primer, really helped. I have this burgundy colored eyeliner that I'm going to use in the waterline and to tightline. This is in the shade 29 Berry Fantastic. I really like the Essence eyeliner formula. It stays in the waterline pretty well. I have this one in black and I use it all the time. I'm also going to smudge it a little bit between the lashes. I have two mascaras from Essence, but I could only find one. This is the Bye Bye Panda Eyes. This is actually not my favorite, but I'm going to put on false lashes anyway. The idea behind this mascara is that it doesn't flake. But I find it in fact quite flaky on me. I have these little smudges now. So this is what it looks like with just mascara. This mascara isn't that bad, but it is a little bit flaky on me and I don't really like the effect. It's not intense enough. Their other mascaras are better. But we're going to add some lashes now. I have these Like a Boss lashes. They're in the style number 2 Unique. So let's see if I can put this on camera. These are actually quite easy to put on. I find them a lot easier than the Catrice ones, for instance. I'm just not too sure about this style. They're maybe a little bit too bird-like for me. So I cleaned up my fallout. There wasn't that much, but I had to clean it up just to be safe. Now let's go into the face. I actually don't have an Essence face primer anymore. I used to have one that smelled like clay, but it smelled so bad that I couldn't use it anymore, so I gave it away. I do have these highlight drops and I thought it would be fun to use them as a sort of illuminator for underneath my foundation. So I'm going to put some on the tops of my cheeks, above my brows, on my nose and on my chin. And I'm going to blend them out with my finger. And the idea is that this works a little bit like the Hollywood Flawless filter. Alright, so this is quite shiny. Let's hope that it doesn't stay that way when I put on my foundation. This looks like I have a layer of Vaseline on top of my skin. So for foundation, I'm going to use the Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation from Essence. I have mine in the shade 30 Neutral Ivory. I reviewed this foundation, it must have been like half a year ago, and I did not give it the most positive review. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love the way it looked on my skin. And I have to admit, I haven't used it much since that review. I remember it being very thick and a little bit cakey. And thus far I am getting the same impression as I had when I reviewed this. But I do think the illuminating drops that I used underneath make it look a little bit better. Because this foundation is so thick, I'm going to have to go over it with a sponge, and I'm actually going to pick up whatever was left on my hand. And let's see if that helps, because there are a lot of brush marks here. And this sponge is actually by Essence as well. I have quite a bit of their brushes and sponges. I think they're pretty good. So using the sponge definitely helped. Now let's go into concealer. For concealer I have the Stay Natural Plus concealer. I remember not being specifically blown away by this concealer. But we're going to give it a fair shot again. It's just the coverage is a little bit too light. I felt like it didn't do enough. I'm actually going to blend that out with the same sponge. See, I don't think that did a lot. I do think this foundation looks pretty good right now. I have to give it that. To set the face, I actually don't have a setting powder, but I do have this Brighten Up Banana powder, and since I am very pale, I can use this as an all-over setting powder. I'm first going to take my little Real Techniques brush and really push this quite heavily underneath my eyes. This powder is one of the things about Essence that I really love. Look how smooth this looks over here. And here it looks a little bit blotchy. The only thing is, since this isn't a real setting powder but more of a brightening powder, you need quite a lot of it for actually setting down your foundation. So I find that if I don't use enough, my concealer creases very much. But most banana powders are actually too dark for me, so I really like this one. Now I'm taking my big brush and I'm going to softly dust the rest of my face. So that is our base all done. I do think this looks pretty good. I wish the concealer would have been a little bit lighter and a little bit stronger. And I don't love the way this illuminator and the foundation feel on my skin. I actually feel a little bit itchy at the moment. But it is very hot in here, so that could be the reason. But I do really love this powder, so at this point all's well. For bronzer I'm going to use the Hello Good Stuff Matte and Glow Bronzer with cocoa. This one actually smells a little bit like cacao. I just mixed the two halves together. And this is quite a pigmented product, as you can see. I do really like the way this powder product looks. I think Essence's powder products are all quite good. And I'm going to bronze it up quite a bit because this is a very summery look. And I'm going back with my powder brush to make sure there are no harsh edges. For blush I have one option. It's called Befitting. It's number 10. I'm not really sure if it's the right tone for this eyeshadow look, but I don't really have a choice. I know this is a very beloved blush formula. I know Kelly Gooch really likes this one. And I like it as well. There's a little bit of a sheen. And the color is nice and a little bit pigmented, but not too much. And this color is nice and neutral. It actually fits with anything. See, I didn't use that much, but it packs quite a bunch. Now I have two products that I actually bought especially for this video. And those are the eyebrow gel and the highlighter. I figured since Essence isn't really an expensive brand, I could do my best to make sure I have an actual full face. So I have the eyebrow gel in 01 Blondie Brows. And this has little fibers in it. And I'm a huge fan of eyebrow gels. The Dior Pump and Brow is my favorite. But that one is quite expensive. Okay, the first thing I'm noticing is that the formula is quite wet. And the hold isn't as good as my Dior one. It actually doesn't really hold up my brows at all. It does tint them a little bit, but that's it. I'm not a huge fan of this. My eyelash is falling. Maybe I didn't wait long enough for it to dry. So I coated it quite heavily. And now I'm actually going to let it sit a little bit longer. Well, I'll talk about the highlighter that I bought. So this is the standard Essence highlighter. They also have a highlighter trio, but I figured 2 of the 3 shades would be too dark for me. So I opted for the loose highlighter, and I have mine in the shade Mesmerizing #1. And I'm very curious about this color because it looks a little bit like a face powder. But no, it is an actual highlighter. It's pretty much the same color as my skin. So let's give it a go. Oh, this is nice. It is the color of my skin, but it does give a little bit of a glow. I do really like this one. Okay, now let's try to pop on this eyelash again. Alright, it's back on. For lips, I want to do a nice and bright red. So I have this Spice It Up lipstick. This is from the collection of last year again. But I really like this color. It's a nice bright red. A little bit more dark, but it is pretty. And look how pigmented these are. Oh, and it actually smells a little bit spicy. That's beautiful. I really like that. So this is my completed look. My festive summer look. My festive summery look. That's what I was trying to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel and I'll see you in the next one.